Cameron Stewart of Locked On Baylor. This is good. I don't always subscribe to the random Twitter accounts that post things about college football, but this one was different because now the analyst CF Budge, awesome, Budge's college football, 12,000 followers, follows it well, does a preview every year, says that his hottest take, Baylor and Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship, that those two schools will go toe-to-toe for a title and a spot in the college football playoff.
Who says no? Who says no? It's possible.
It's possible. Okay. My question we can get into both teams here. I just think there are better teams than Baylor in the Big 12. And that's not a crazy take at all. Arizona State's going to be loaded. Kansas State's very good. People are overlooking Iowa State a little bit because they lost such wide receiver production. But I don't want to, I don't want to count out Matt Campbell in this. BYU is still very formidable, even without Jake Retzlaff, if he doesn't play this fall. But Texas Tech, reload out of the portal, the best portal class arguably in the country.
Yep.
Joey McGuire seems like he could finally put it together. A great back half of the season in 2024. They're very good. My question would be, like, a Baylor defense that you watched against Colorado last year and thought, how do you not? A Baylor defense you watched against LSU last year, the Swiss cheese, right? How do you not? I need to know. Yeah, it was just that last play against Colorado, really. I need to know.
Well, they were good, but that game was also September. The LSU game is December 31st.
Yeah, much later. For sure, much later. I need to know how Baylor gets to Arlington, and is it really only because of the two words when put together equals Sawyer Robertson?
I mean, that is the biggest reason. It's funny. I had someone after I did a crossover with Blackerby about the Auburn game, and someone commented like, "Do you have any reasons why Baylor would actually beat them, or is it just that or are they better at any one particular position, or is it just Sawyer Robertson?" And I said, "Well, yeah, that is better at one position, Sawyer Robertson, and it's the most important position on the field." So yes, Sawyer is the biggest reason why they'll be competitive this year, and by that I mean contending for the Big 12 championship. But the other thing too is like, I really respect Tech's portal class. We got to find a happy medium between, who's bringing back the best, who's bringing in the best, what coaches can get the most out of them in year one. And I think there's still a lot of questions with that with Joey McGuire and Texas Tech. They've had some good portal rankings the last few years. This is obviously by far the best. And I'm just trying not to get tripped up on, I've thought about Tech as the dark horse to win this conference the last 3 years, and it doesn't ever even come close. But looking at the portal, because I think that has a lot to do with how we perceive teams in the preseason in this day and age, right? More than ever before, we can see they added this talent and this talent and this talent, right? Tech, second or third at worst, best transfer portal class in the country, which makes them comfortably the best in the Big 12. But if you're going to base this off what talent teams brought in the offseason, you know who had the second highest recruited or the second highest rated transfer portal ranking team? There we go. In the Big 12.
Would you like to tell me?
It's the Baylor Bears. Now, again, is that comfortably behind Tech? Yes, it is. But if we're going off that, then maybe that is the matchup. Or if we're going off of who can blend the talent, who brings the most back, Baylor brings back 15 starters from last year that won 6 games to end the regular season, 6 straight games. Like this is a team that brings a lot back and brings a lot of talent in. Tech does bring some talent back, but they bring a lot in this year. So whichever kind of side of the coin you're on in that, like one of these teams should be there. I think there are teams that are better than Tech, and you could argue that are better than Baylor going into this season. I think you can't count out Kansas State. Iowa State, I think that's a lot of firepower they're losing there. I like Rocco. I want to believe in him.
NFL draft firepower, yes.
Yes. So there are definitely other teams that are up there at the top. Arizona State, as you mentioned, defending champs and keep a lot of good pieces. But I don't see any reason why it can't be a little butt bowl for the Big 12 championship. They don't play this year, so I'm hoping that is the case.
I'm thinking about, I was making sure there I wasn't omitting any glaring candidates for a Big 12 title this year. And I remember just a second ago, Arizona's in this conference, and Noah Fafita will be Arizona's quarterback this fall. The same Noah Fafita that beat Oklahoma a couple of years ago in that awesome bowl game. And then
Kansas, they got Jalen Daniels as their quarterback.
Kansas still has
Jalen Daniels beat BYU last year. So
yes, he did.
Won.
Didn't have the same magic against Baylor in that blowout.
Connor Wegman, Alabama.
Houston, probably. Alabama's not quite on their high horse as much anymore. There are a couple Big 12. Colorado still has Deion Sanders.
Just list all the quarterbacks in the Big 12 who had a big win in the past.
Brennan Sorsby will return. He's going to be there in the mix.
UCF will have somebody taking the snap. Somebody.
TCU lost to Houston last year. We forget about that.
I don't. Yeah.
We forget about that.
Friday night. They beat Stanford, though.
Wasn't Friday night. I was at a Chewy's. My big problem here with the whole Baylor and Texas Tech thing, again, I have questions about the defense. That's a big problem.
Yeah.
But I'm worried that against Auburn and then a college football playoff team last year in SMU, that game in Dallas at noon too, I am worried that Baylor could be downtrodden after a slow start because you start so hot and heavy. I'm confident I will choose the Bears to win both of those games. Proud alum. Shocking, I know.
There you go.
But I'm worried that if those two don't, it's the most must-win game for in the non-conference for anybody in the country in that first weekend. The reason I say that is when you look at other big matchups with two college football playoff contenders, you can afford to lose two games when you're LSU. You can afford to lose two games when you're Clemson and still go to the college football playoff. For Baylor and Auburn, you can barely afford to lose one game, and then things could take a really dark turn. So the loser of that matchup is, by all intents and purposes, to me, out of the college football playoff race because of what that does to your psyche and morale, and you need to build your brand and win. Could that be reversed?
Yeah.
Obviously, sure. I just don't see another matchup that large in week one that seems so consequential for two teams that desperately need to win. So my thing is, if Baylor loses to Auburn, and especially loses to Auburn and SMU, I worry about the recovery in Big 12 play.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing would be, obviously Baylor could lose that game and still be a real contender in their conference.
Correct.
I don't know that Auburn could. The SEC's a different animal. The other thing, to support this is Dave Aranda has had this pretty much every year he's been there. Some sort of issue, other than 2021, some sort of issue with we weren't ready for this game, or we made too much of this game and put too much pressure on ourselves. And that's where I do get a little worried because, those are two massive games, but they also don't count at all towards your Big 12 record. And what your goal should be is to win a Big 12 championship. That should be your goal when you have a good team going into the season. So that to me is you've got to compartmentalize that. These first two games are fun. You can make a statement or anything, but they really don't count at all towards your goal. And on the flip side, by the way, Tech can start pretty hot. Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Kent State, Oregon State, Utah on the road. We'll see. Yeah. Houston, Kansas. They can start pretty hot that first half of the season.
We didn't talk about Utah as a potential contender.
No, we didn't.
With Cam Rising at quarterback this year. They're going to wheel him out there.
Charlie Brewer backing him up.
Hope for the best. Coming up, BYU missing a bowl game. What? Locked on Big 12.